What's going on, everybody? You are tuned in to the Hot List. I'm your host, Matt Johnson with Keller Realty, and I come to y'all Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. We hang out and we answer real estate questions. I do this in a segment that is addressed as the question of the day. This is submitted by a listener or viewer of the podcast. And if you're interested in submitting a question for the question of the day and you want to have it answered or get your question, all you got to do is shoot it to me through Facebook, or you can drop it in the comments on the podcast player of choice that you are listening to this on. I would be happy to answer that question as well as use that for future episodes just like this one, because if you have that question about real estate, the chance that somebody else has that same question or similar question are absolutely, they're absolutely strong. So make sure you get those questions in, and I'd be happy to answer that question for you. Hopefully, that can springboard you to a more in depth answer or guide you to a more in depth answer that is specific to your situation. So, the question of the day today: should I winterize my home? Now, this is a topic, at least around here in Kansas, that we start to have with people or hear people talk about after Labor Day and kind of more towards Halloween. People talk about winterization and preparing their homes for the colder months coming ahead. And maybe you are thinking about this or have heard people talk about it, but does winterization really help your home, and does it prep your home for winter? Well, the answer to that is actually pretty simple and might surprise you. Not only should most homes be winterized, obviously to a certain extent, but they should be winterized before cold weather starts moving in. Depending on, you know, the size of the home, the process can be a a potentially big job. It's going to depend on who you are, where your house is, as well as your lifestyle. And based on how you answer those three questions, it's important to know and understand the winterization tasks. So by better understanding winterization as a whole, then you are going to be you'll be better at figuring out which tasks need done in your home and which ones will be most beneficial to you, as well as protecting your home. Sorry. Now, this is a topic that we can go on and on about, and because of the size, this is a large topic, we can go really in depth with it. I'm not going to go that far in depth. I'm just going to discuss some of the basics today and give you a place to start. That way, depending on where you live, what the like the winter months are, what your lifestyle is like, will give you an idea of how much winterization is actually need to be done. So today we're going to answer the question of the day, which is, should I winterize my home? And in answering that, we are going to talk about three basics of home winterization. Number one, we're going to start with who should winterize. By starting with the who, from there we can figure out if this means it's something that you should do as a homeowner. And to answer the simple question of who, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be people that live in areas that have freezing temperatures for, months on end. However, not everyone is going to go as in depth with the winterization process as others will. So let's kind of start with the most extreme. Snowbirds. Maybe they spend their winters in Florida, Arizona, Texas. They are definitely going to want to go to the extreme of winterizing. Then there's those who leave their primary home vacant for long periods of time during winter. Maybe you're retired and you drive around in an RV for 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time because still want to do the process because a combination of cold plus snow and wind is often a breeding ground for damage to your house. There's a potential for loose shingles, freezing pipes, amongst other examples. So others that will need to winterize would be ones who take longer vacations. Maybe you have a summer vacation home, like a lake cabin. So around here, there are a number of lakes people have cabins on. Some of them can be lived in year round, others cannot, and actually need to be winterized in the fall. And of course, most homeowners like myself do some kind of winterization in prep to the colder weather. Number two, when do you want to winterize? So the best time to start is once the temperatures start dropping around the fall nights and it starts to stay cooler longer. So now, depending on where you live, that could be October, that could be November. Obviously, the further north that you are, that's going to be much sooner. So, whatever that answer is for you, that's, you have to figure that out. I'm not going to be able to figure that out for you. There's a lot of homeowners that think it's not necessary, or maybe they're not sure when to start. And maybe they think they don't actually need to do it. There's no benefit, or it doesn't get cold enough. But if you start the process before freezing temperatures actually arrive, the process for a lot of folks is simpler and more practical than you might think, because general winterization involves some type of home maintenance and or repair activities. So for example, if you need to add some type of sealant, adhesive, or another material that needs to dry or cure, the colder it is, the longer it's going to take for those materials to set up properly, if they even set up at all. So, when starting winterization, you want to start early enough in the fall that you can ensure you're able to get everything done and accomplished, not early enough that you still need some of that equipment or access for fall maintenance items or projects. But of course, you don't want to wait too long into the cold weather that actually starts freezing and you either can't get the work done, or by doing the work at this point, it's going to compromise the integrity of what you're doing. And finally, the third step that we're going to talk about today is actually how to winterize. And these are going to be three general areas. Again, I'm not going to go in depth with these just because this is a very broad topic and a large topic. I'm not going to get into specifics. So the three general areas of how to winterize that we're going to talk about today are inspection, repair, and prevention. And again, like I mentioned earlier, these are all dependent on where you live as well as how your home is laid out. uh, this isn't an extensive list, just a place to get you started and or if nothing else, start the process of thinking, what I could winterize to help protect my home. So, first, we'll start with the inspection part of it. These are going to be activities that involve checking to see if there's any barriers that need to be maintenance, make sure they're holding up, and then make sure that they're ready for winter. So, for example, this would be checking your roof for signs of damage. Are there any drafts around the windows or doors in your home? Maybe even have your furnace or heat pump inspected to ensure that it's not only clean, but that it's functioning properly as well. Next area is repairs. This is going to involve fixing any type of damage and running through a winterization checklist that I will include in the description. Uh, so think of this checklist as your to-do list. This is going to prevent things like drafty windows or maybe even unwanted pests from entering your home. So this would be, for examples of repair, would be fixing any type of siding issues, replacing damaged shingles, or getting repairs done to your HVAC system that you may have been putting off during the summer because, you don't need your furnace necessarily during the summer as much as you need it in the winter. And of course, the third area is prevention. These are going to be tasks that help take action so potential issues don't come up during the wintertime. So, prevention is going to be items like covering your pipes with insulation to prevent them from freezing, removing window units to prevent heat loss escaping in or around the area, or maybe even installing a thermal film over the windows on the inside to create that barrier so you reduce that heat loss. And of course, one of the main ones would be disconnecting hoses from outdoor faucets and installing faucet covers. The faucet covers will help prevent leaks as well as any type of freezing. So those are the three basic areas of home winterization. Again, who ultimately this could be anybody that lives in an area that it has freezing temperatures for extended periods of time. The big ones, especially you snowbirds listening that escape to Florida, Arizona, maybe even Texas. Um, if you leave your home vacant for extended periods of time, you need to go through some type of winterization so you're not going to come home to a flooded house or some type of issue. And also if you have a vacation home or most homeowners in general. Number two was when. In this area, people start thinking about this after Labor Day in September, and usually by October, know what needs to be done and get it done between, the last week of October, maybe first week of November, and do enough that you're not, you're not necessarily winterizing your fall equipment that you might need, but you don't want to wait till those freezing temperatures are already moved in and it's already too late to get some of this done. And then finally, number three was how. The three general areas that you want to think about and look for are inspection, repair, and prevention. So just in the inspection would be checking for any signs of damage to your roof, any drafts around the windows. Repair would be having some type of checklist that you can go down, maybe fixing the siding or replacing shingles. And then, of course, prevention is going to be doing some type of proactive activity that's going to reduce the chance of heat loss, for example, or like disconnecting your hoses. So those are the three basics to get you all started. We do a few of these here in Kansas. I do a few of these, especially Where I live in Kansas, the biggest ones that I do are removing the the window units and disconnecting hoses from outdoors, checking that there's no drafts or leaks around doors and windows, and that's kind of the basics that I go through. I In the way that my house is laid out, I don't have any pipes that I need to have insulated just because of where it's at. Now, if you have a different layout, maybe you're on a a slab home, items are run through the attic. That might be a little bit different. So again, it's all going to be based on where you live and the layout of your home. So just keep that in mind. There are, like I mentioned, there are some lakes around here. People that have lake cabins that they do have to winterize because they are not all season. So they do have to do some type of winterization. So I would love to know what steps that you guys take. And is there an area on the list that I forgot? Again, it's not an extensive or exhaustive list by any means, but this is just a list to help you get started. So I would love to know when you guys start yours and what all you do in yours as well. So that is going to wrap it up for me in the hot list. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with me. Again, I'm your host, Matt Johnson with Keller Williams Realty. I do this because your experience matters and should be trusted with a veteran. Y'all have a phenomenal weekend. I'll see you Monday. Take care.